What's up, guys? Welcome to the brand new Loper show here via podcast. I am Jeremy Loper. And if you follow me for years, we are acquainted. There's been some things that have gone on in the last couple of months. And I just kind of wanted to update my audience on what has happened and what has transpired. So, about a year ago, I left Columbus and I moved down to Nashville. And man, I had a great time in Nashville, I have to tell you. Went down there and had some instant friends and Jelly Roll and Struggle Jennings, people that if you follow me for years, I've always championed those guys and made new friends like Yellow Wolf. And I actually had a condo that was an 8-minute walk from Broadway. I mean, guys, I felt like I was living the life. It was kind of crazy. The radio station I worked at was amazing. The people I worked with were amazing. But the one thing that really was missing was my family. And unfortunately, in late June, one of my children started to have some medical issues. And at the end of summer, after making several trips back and forth from Nashville to Columbus, I moved back to Columbus to be closer to my family. I tend to think it was the the right thing to do, obviously. And a lot of people are asking, Loper, is this going to be the next step? Are you going to do a podcast? Live here at the 511 Studios in Columbus on High Street. The answer to that is yes, maybe, and. I could return to terrestrial radio. That's a really great possibility. But the show could launch and be all new and all independent right here on podcast. So I appreciate you guys following me to this platform and supporting me, honestly, on every platform that I've ever been on. It was kind of crazy. Like when I was in Nashville, we were streaming the show worldwide on iHeartRadio. And we were the number one streaming radio station in Nashville in the iHeart cluster. And all of the listeners, I have to thank you guys. Most of the audience that we had on stream were all from Columbus. They all followed me from the Blitz. The absolute, compliment that pays is, I can't even describe that. So, I wanted to kind of start the show and just thank everybody that has followed me over the years, not only from Columbus, but from South Florida. You followed me up to Columbus and, we had a great 11-year run here in Columbus. Then eventually all of the South Florida and Columbus audience followed me to Nashville. So I want to welcome all three cities, man. Nashville, Columbus, West Palm, and all the cities I've been through across the years of this crazy carnival that we call radio. And, you got to think with the election that was just had and the impact that the Joe Rogan experience had on the election with having Donald Trump in studio, you got to think that maybe podcast might be the place to be. So we're going to see how this goes. And like I said, I really appreciate you guys following me to all the different platforms. And I can't express my gratitude enough to you guys. One of the things when I was down in Nashville that I got to do that was really cool, guys. And if you go to Nashville, like on a trip or something, you have to make sure you do this, is the Grand Old Opry. I mean, listen, Broadway is its own beast, and we can talk about Broadway all day long if you want to. I have many stories, trust me. But the Grand Ole Opry was something special. So my buddy Struggle Jennings was inducted in late May. It was like late May, early June. And we went over there. And so Jelly had already been inducted. And so Jelly played, and then Struggle came out and did his performance, which was his inauguration into the Grand Ole Opry. But when you walk in, man, you just get that feeling of like, whoa, like some people have played there, like super famous people that had gone on to have like phenomenal careers. And just looking around and you see the audience, and it's one of the most unique experiences too, because it's not only like a live performance, but it's broadcast on radio there in Nashville. Like they have their own radio station in the Grand Ole Opry. And so you're watching what you're watching as an audience member is what they're listening to back on the radio. And to see somebody as close of friends as Struggle and I are, seeing him get up there for the first time, I mean, it was unbelievable. It was one of those things where I didn't think it was going to affect me as much as it did. And, the Grand Ole Opry is its own beast. And the original Grand Ole Opry is actually on just off of Broadway, the Ryman Auditorium. And I got to go check out this like super hippie show. I don't even remember what the name of the band was, but it was really funny. I just went because I wanted to go experience the Ryman myself. And when you walk into that place, I mean, it is like the church of country, gospel, bluegrass music. I mean, they have all kinds of bands. Like Zach Wild was there when I was in Nashville. I mean, so they have like, everybody and their brother actually plays there. But when you're in there, you kind of feel like the ghost of everyone that's ever played. You just get those vibes. Like it's just one of those places that's so rich It's like if the walls could talk, you're like, tell me a story. It was pretty amazing. So, so many great experiences down there. Ran into Kid Rock randomly, and I hadn't seen Kid Rock in years, and went to his bar all the time. That was like probably if I had a hang on Broadway, that was definitely the place I hung the most. And I didn't think that after I got back to Columbus, I was going to miss Nashville so much, but I literally, man, Nashville was so much fun. Perhaps one could argue that I was a little too close to Broadway, but I had a little too much fun. But I mean, dude, it was so killer. And the people down there just, I mean, absolutely salt of the earth. But one of the things that really surprised me is how much I missed Columbus as my home. It was wild, man. After 11 years, raising my two older children here, and then my two younger children, Mackenzie and Knox, are still in the Dublin school system here. I didn't realize how much it would affect me when I left Columbus and all of the people. And it was really funny, man. I would be at bars on Broadway, just kind of hanging out, showing friends that were in from out of town, different places, Kid Rock's, Jason Aldean's place, Bon Jovi's place is so dope. But the thing that was a constant on Broadway was people would recognize me from Columbus. It was wild, man. People would be like, Loper. It would blow my mind. So a lot of Ohio people traveling down to Nashville, no doubt. And man, it was really fun. But I have to tell you, being back in Columbus, it's like a homecoming. So I've been sharing my time between Columbus and South Florida, my original home. And it's good to be back in Ohio, though. That's for damn sure. So I think everybody wants to talk about the fights from over the weekend. I mean, what a crazy weekend of fights. It was like a roller coaster ride, guys. Like, so Friday, everyone decides to stay home, or maybe you went to a bar that showed it. I'm not sure. Me and my son Knox sat down on the couch and we watched Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, first of all, if Netflix is going to have the NFL coming up this holiday season, because it's Christmas, right? They plan to broadcast their first game live on Netflix. So this was like a big test for Netflix in their live streaming. And wow, did they fail that test? I mean, the thing was buffering the entire time. I only knew a couple of people that were hitting me up on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter that were like, I have no problem with my feed whatsoever. I'm like, really? Because everyone else in the free world is having a big issue with Netflix right now. And man, I think the only clear thing that you could see the entire time was Mike Tyson's ass. When Mike Tyson did the interview and he's got it, he had his cup on and he turns around and there's like bare Tyson cheeks just chilling. Like, man, why was that the only clear part of the entire broadcast, guys? The Amanda Serrano fight was absolutely intense. I mean, those are literally the two best female fighters on the planet. Listen, Amanda Serrano losing for the second time. It was a very close fight. It was a very, very close fight. I wasn't scoring the fight, but I did tend to think that Katie Taylor won. I thought it was an absolute crime when the referee took a point away from her for headbutting. I mean, a lot of people could say she was leading with her head. I don't know. I really think both fights, it could have gone either way. And in my opinion, you can't be mad either way. I think it was so close that both women are absolute animals. Absolute animals. And there were some other good fights on that card, but the main event was exactly what you thought it was going to be. And if you didn't think it was going to be like that, I don't know what you were looking for. You saw an almost 60-year-old Mike Tyson, and yes, training with one of the most elite trainers in the world, really from the mixed martial arts world, Rafael Cordell. You would see videos of him holding pads for Tyson and Tyson just wailing off, and he looked absolutely magnificent in short bursts. And listen, credit to Jake Paul and MVP Productions for putting on and putting out excellent clips to get you to buy it. Or aren't we all really subscribed to Netflix? I mean, I think most of the world is. Most people are subscribed to Netflix, so you'd have to pay for it like in a pay-per-view fashion, but that's why you tuned in. So you thought that Mike Tyson was going to really have a chance. I have to be honest. I knew what this was going to be. And what you saw is a guy who's almost 60 years old fighting a kid that was, 27? Jake Paul's, 28 maybe? And Jake Paul's no slouch. Everybody wants to hate on him. And, listen, I get it. He definitely plays that role. He plays the heel really well. But I didn't see a world where Mike Tyson was going to have a chance to win. And that's sort of was one of the things that I almost didn't tune in for because I did not want to see Mike Tyson lose to Jake Paul. But the one thing that we didn't see was Mike Tyson actually get beat. And I think my biggest takeaway was that Jake Paul at 28 years old could not knock out a almost 60-year-old Mike Tyson. And I think that says a lot. At the end of the fight, Jake Paul calling out Canelo, you should probably really think about what you're asking for, brother. Now, here's what I think he's asking for. I think he's asking for more money and views. I really, at the end of the day, would he love to stay undefeated? Absolutely. Does it matter if he doesn't? Absolutely not. So I think at the end of the day, the Jake Paul business is going strong. And I hate to say it, but I think one day you may see Jake Paul Canelo, and it may be in the very near future. Although I think Jake Paul's actually booking his next fight like here in the next couple of weeks. Word is he's going to fight Joe Biden because there may be nobody else in the nursing home available, Which brings me to Saturday, which was a banger. UFC 309, John Jones, the heavyweight champion of the world, stepping into the octagon in Madison Square Garden and just absolutely claiming his own. I mean, the fight was phenomenal. Stipe Miocic from right here in Independence, Ohio, just outside of Cleveland, OH. The guy is a legend, Stipe. Literally the greatest heavyweight ever in the UFC. And not only that, one of the nicest guys, one of the best hearted guys in the entire world. I met Stipe several times. Westside Barbell, where I work out, is connected with Strong Style MMA up in Independence. So a lot of their fighters have been down here to Columbus to train at Westside and everything. And I've met Stipe at several jiu-jitsu events and many MMA events around the Ohio area. But the guy is just a solid human being. He's a volunteer firefighter and has been for years in his local community. And at the same time as he was holding the UFC heavyweight championship. So, I mean, this was, in my opinion, the greatest heavyweight fight to ever happen for the UFC. And the fight played out amazing. It really did. I mean, Stipe was in there the whole time. It was just the length of John Jones, the timing, the distance that he's able to keep. And really, John Jones in the end did what John Jones does the best, and that's smother the other guy's game. The spinning back heel kick that he put in Stipe's liver, I mean, what? Unreal. Absolutely unreal. The whole night was just phenomenal. But I mean, that fight in general was amazing. And of course, Donald Trump comes out with Dana White. He's walking out to the octagon to this ferocious applause. I mean, everybody's going nuts. Trump goes right to Rogan immediately. And I heard there was a lip reader that was trying to figure out what they were saying. And, I think he was saying what you think he was saying. He was thinking Joe Rogan huge for pretty much sealing the deal on the election. I mean, he did. You've got to think that, right? I mean, he really did. John Jones jumps out of the octagon, hands the belt to President Trump. I mean, is there a better time to be in the Trump business? I mean, the guy went through so much over the last few years, and I'm not getting political. I'm just stating facts here, but he's kind of having his time in the sun right now. And he was one of the biggest stars at UFC 309. So I was talking about Nashville a little bit earlier, and my boy Jelly Roll is going to get his own honky tonk on Broadway. That's going to be kind of sick. Lower Broadway has had a few new additions, like Morgan Wallen. He opened up his honky tonk. Lainey Wilson, she opened up on Lower Broadway this year. But actually, hers is kind of cool. So I was there opening night, and hers is right at the end of the walking bridge as you walk over. And it's cool. It's very female oriented, as you can imagine, but it's pretty cool. Bon Jovi's brand new honky tonk is open, which is dope. I got to meet Bon Jovi on opening day and interview him, which was, the entire band. And it was cool. And John was such a nice guy. But yeah, Jelly Roll, you got to be proud of him, man. The first ever guy that is a Nashville native to ever have a honky tonk named after him on Lower Broadway. It's such a cool thing, man. It is such a cool thing. And he was just here a couple of weeks ago. Jelly and Struggle both call Columbus, Ohio, their second home. And man, it really was. He had that place absolutely rocking. Nationwide Arena was totally sold out. And it was like one of those shows where you were like, dude, this is big. And most of the jelly shows that I've been to in the last year and a half, it's like every show keeps getting bigger. I mean, Columbus remembers. We introduced you to Jelly Roll on the Blitz, and that's when he was playing Alrosa Villa. I was backstage last year at the Cleveland show, and he was like, Bubba, it's been a long way since Alrosa Villa. I was like, dude, I mean, seriously, what a legendary place to play, but, not the biggest, okay? Like under 1,000 people at Alrosa, sold out to the rafters, okay? And he's selling out nationwide like easy, like no one's business. And I mean, I was just so happy for him and proud of him. It was really something to see. We did an after party downtown, this place called Callahan's, which I didn't even know existed. It's got this killer like rooftop bar, and this was right before it got like too chilly in Columbus to be on the rooftop bars. And man, DJ Highlight was up there doing his thing, and it was just phenomenal all the way around. And you just can't be happier for that group of guys, just absolutely killing it. Like I said, this episode was meant to be sort of just me getting back with you guys and letting you know that the podcast and the show is coming back. The show will return in a full hour form where I'm going to have guests. We're going to have the latest topics that are going on in the world. We're going to talk to, not only musicians, fighters. We may talk to you. You never know. So keep it right here. Follow me at Jeremy Loper on all major social media sites. And you can find me at The Loper Show on any podcast platform. And I really, really thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of The Loper Show. We're up on time.